We love stories that feel real even though they're clearly fiction. But how can we make our own stories feel that way too? If you've ever wondered why your story feels flat and weren't sure how to fix it, you've come to the right place. Because today, we're discussing why your story feels one-dimensional and how to fix it. Let's get started! Hey guys, Nour here and welcome back to my channel. For those visiting for the first time, hello, I'm the fantasy author of the novel Divinity Falling. Be sure to subscribe for weekly writing advice videos. So, if your story feels one-dimensional, there are probably 4 key reasons why. Now, it's not always these 4 things combined, but I have noticed that writers, especially newbie writers, tend to make several of these 4 mistakes at once. So let's discuss each mistake. Mistake number 1, your characters don't have motives. Or if they do have a motive, they don't have a concrete backstory that drove them to that motive. So essentially, they do what they do because you, the author, claim that's what they want. But there isn't an actual proof as to why they want this. For example, let's say your main character wants to win a science project because they're smart. But there's no backstory as to why they're invested in this science project. So you claiming that they're smart is the only reason or the only motive that we, as readers, see on paper. But just because you call them smart doesn't show us hard proof of why they want this or why they're smart in the first place. They're not real people with hopes and fears. And this causes your main character to feel flat. You could call them smart, but nothing backs that up. Just because they wear glasses or always have a book on them doesn't show me who they are. Instead, you want to create a backstory of why they're even interested in learning. Maybe when they were younger, their grandparent or their father or mother used to read to them and just educate them. Or maybe somebody inspired them to learn. So that's what they now aim to be. So when they see the science contest, this is something they've been planning for all their life because they're passionate about it. It's not just something that you as the author decided and that's it. That's why they want to do it. Create a backstory for your characters and show us why they're the way they are. So start out by digging deep into their past and figuring out what motivates them to do what they do in this book. This isn't something they just thought of at the beginning of the book. This has been on their mind their entire life. Mistake number 2, your story lacks layered storylines. Just like your characters need layers to them, so does your story. And that's where subplots come in. Now, I'm not saying that you should insert 20 random characters who ramble about their own side stories. But at the same time, your story shouldn't just be a single plot. Your plot should have several subplots. For example, your story isn't just about your protagonist looking for treasure. That can certainly be the main plot, but there should always be more. You might have a romantic subplot or a grandparent being sick subplot. Maybe your protagonist is looking for treasure while simultaneously having issues with their best friend. Basically, your story needs layers to feel like it's real. Otherwise, it's going to read like a first grader wrote it. Think about it like this. In real life, we have a lot of things going on at once, not just a single plot. And that's exactly what you want to replicate in your story. Obviously, concentrate on a main plot, but definitely have more things going on than just that single plot. And that's pretty much how you make it feel well-rounded. Which leads me to my 3rd mistake. Mistake number 3, your story moves in a straight line from point A to point B. Let's go back to your protagonist looking for treasure. Let's say they go out, they find the treasure, the end. Obviously, you don't want that. It's boring for you to write, it's boring for the reader to read, it's just not a good story. Nothing veers off into a different path, and that's not fun. So instead, here's what you could do. You could still have your main character go looking for treasure, but you also want them to stumble upon other things that maybe they were missing in their life. Maybe they needed to discover love or family, and on their adventure, that's exactly what they find. Also, finding the treasure shouldn't be an easy task. I mean, think about it like this. When we work hard towards something, it feels so much better when we finally get it because we know we've struggled getting there. But if we just got it like that, it just wouldn't feel as worthwhile. And an easy way to replicate that in your story is by complicating the plot by putting obstacles in your character's way. And mistake number 4, your antagonist's only goal is being an obstacle to your protagonist. Again, your characters should have their own personal motive for why they do what they do. And that should come with a backstory. So if your antagonist doesn't have a personal goal and their only motive is being an obstacle for the protagonist, then they're flat. Just because they're doing evil things doesn't mean they're exempt from from having a backstory. Every single character that matters in your story should have a motive and a backstory. And I think this is even more important for the antagonist because they're the ones driving the conflict. So why is it they're causing this conflict? Dig deep into their past and figure out why that matters to them. And if the answer is that they just want the protagonist unhappy, that's not good enough because they're not well-rounded. So that's all I have for you today. I'd love to know, have you ever done any of these mistakes? If so, don't worry. We all have at one point in our writing journey. But do let me know in the comments. If you're new to my channel, be sure to subscribe because I put out weekly writing advice videos that will take your story to the next level. Also, don't forget to follow me on social media to see what I'm up to from day to day and to chat with me. And before we go, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sarah Frayne, Alan J. Early, and Noah Kovanti from my shoutouts here over on Patreon, as well as all my amazing patrons. Thank you all so much for your support. I really appreciate you. And remember, Nour for president.